Hello, everybody. Hope you're all well and keeping safe during lockdown. This is the first time I've done a Facebook type interview, a one-to-one. It was supposed to be a Facebook Live, but we made a mess of it. So we're going to pop it up to you. I made a mess of it, and we're going to pop it up onto YouTube and share it a little bit later on. I just want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, John Stirzaker. He's the world's most ethical and wonderful financial advisor in my book. But just want to go through the common theme of all the people that I am chatting to at the moment. And the whole point of this series is just to bring my contacts and my world to a wider audience, as I spend a lot of time chatting and having coffee and catching up and speaking to some really interesting people, John being one of them, who we met 6 years ago at Business for Breakfast in Rochdale, John.
Yeah, it
was. Business for Breakfast was business in the evening. So I think we used to stick around for a couple of beers afterwards.
We went as guests because we were in the Bolton evening group. Yes.
That was it, wasn't it? That was it. Now yourself and your lovely wife, Alex, popped along a couple of times.
Yeah.
And like everybody else I've spoken to in the interviews that we've done, I at the time made a bit of a cheeky either Facebook or LinkedIn connection, which seemed a bit for me awkward at the time because I didn't know you very well, but has turned into business for me at the car leasing company, has turned into charitable donations from you to a charity I was helping because you saw something on there. And over time, we've worked out that we both have some common ground. You're a massive cycling enthusiast. I'm going to talk into that later because I know you're doing some exciting stuff with charity. And me and my sort of, I call it the fitness journey, we're going from being fairly unhealthy to fairly healthy. And the point being that some of these contacts do gather a common ground. Now that comes from business and friendships. And that's generally what I'm trying to teach business owners to do is connect and find some common ground with people. So that was back then, and this is now. We're 2 cars into our relationship, which is cool. So thank you to my most recent fleet customer. Previous, I think you were one of the last deliveries, but before lockdown, right?
It was just around the beginning of lockdown. It's quite interesting. The delivery driver was wiping everything down like mad. Electric, all electric now. It's brilliant. It's like driving a Dodgem car.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's got the e-brake. So you just literally drive like that with the accelerator.
Oh, right.
So you take your foot off to stop and just press go. Literally, it's like driving a Dodgem car.
Like a Dodgem.
And they are brilliant. You really cannot fault them. So quick, so quiet. You don't know you've turned it on, which is quite funny. Yeah. Kind of looking around the dashboard going, yeah, it's on, we're going.
And I think all this stuff's going to speed up that transition. I have no doubt that the industry will come back smaller for car sales. But maybe more specialist in terms of, someone like myself might decide just to have, not going as far anymore for work. I don't think I'll be going as far as I used to back in the old days. So maybe just an electric runabout would fit the bill, whereas previously it would have been a bit more, wanted a bigger diesel car and that kind of stuff, which we knew was going to come to an end anyway because they're making them illegal after 2034, I think it is. They're putting more cycle lanes in, etc., etc. So they are being sort of transitioned out, and technology and the way that we do business is changing, so we won't need to use them as much. So I think you're going to, almost a pioneer of that, and I think that's going to be where the future lies for the people that do need cars moving forward. So how's lockdown treating you, John?
It's as someone who works from home anyway. So this is my office in the smallest bedroom in the house with the world's biggest home printer that I bought because it was cheap and it arrived on a crate. So I thought, okay. Anyway, I've had it 3 years. I've never put ink in it. It's just gone that much. So working from home anyway, kind of, a lot of it didn't feel that different. Obviously, the initial market reaction, the drops that you saw in stock markets created a lot of kind of emergency contact with clients who obviously felt very unsure about where they were invested and what was happening in the world. And then kind of after it, it's really about changing the way that you keep in contact with clients. Most of my actual work is face-to-face reviews with my clients on an annual or biannual basis. And a lot of them are a bit older. So there's no concerns. Obviously, I don't want to go and review a client and give them COVID because I could have it, be totally asymptomatic, hold a cup, whatever, even shaking hands, which is something that as a financial advisor, years and years and years ago, we were taught
You
how
learn
to
how
shake.
to do it, yeah.
This is how you shake hands, not limp, not like a wet fish. And it's been an integral part of 25 years, of work. To now not do is really, really strange. And I think what's been really fascinating is a little bit of a journey that many of us have gone through around, right, the new norm is going to be totally different from what we had before. And if you want to carry on in business, you, as a financial advisor, you've got to move forward. So things like Zoom, I think, are going to be absolutely pivotal. And just better kind of communications with clients in other ways. It's not just about face-to-face anymore.
Quick question. I know that most financial advisors try to do an annual review with their customer base for compliance, as well as obviously making sure that the customer gets everything right and maybe add some more stuff and that kind of thing. Does a Zoom review or a Google Hangout review or whatever count as a meeting?
Yes, basically. So we had a set of regulations that came in called MiFID, which is Markets in Financial Instruments Directive, and then we had MiFID 2, and it deals an awful lot with reviewing clients, because it's not reviewing the product, it's reviewing their objectives, their goals, their attitude to risk. And obviously, as an industry, this has been a big challenge. So my network, which is Quilter Wealth, Positive Solutions is part of Quilter, have said, yes, we can do remote. We've always had that capability to do these things remotely, even just by telephone call. It's not ideal, and there are communication barriers, and obviously there's a certain amount of kind of trial and trepidation around screen sharing, sending documents to clients ahead of the meeting. But from a compliance point of view, it's absolutely fine. There's no issues, and as long as you just continually keeping up that contact, it's fine. The issue is if you've not seen someone for years and years and years. But in MiFID world, as we call it, you don't have clients like that are paying you. So where we charge someone an ongoing charge, so we don't get paid commission anymore per se, it's an ongoing charge that they are aware of and we constantly remind them of. If they're paying an ongoing charge, we agree a level of service for them. Sorry, very long-winded answer to a short question.
It's fine. And we'll get into some tips in a minute, but I think you and I and a couple other guys have been able to sort of move face to face to screen, but in a more, we can do more meetings in a small amount of time. So I've got a pal of mine who works in a very specific part of building installations, for want of a better word. And he would normally speak to the person who procures that thing at a hospital trust or a ship or whatever, and go and see them and sell this stuff. He's now able to get 40 or 50 people onto an information seminar from his back bedroom to educate them about his product.
Yep.
You know, I've done 10 years in the home business world, where we get people to come and look at presentations, where we make appointments out of hours, Saturday mornings, 8 o'clock on a wet Wednesday night, and maybe get 2 or 3 a week in on a good day. And this week we've had 100 people on Zoom calls.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that we all going to be pinned at home forever, but there are certain aspects of this that have just fast forwarded where we're going anyway, that we can keep hold of.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Mm.
And it's really fascinating what you're saying, kind of keys into what I'm hoping to be able to do with workplaces.
Mm.
So in the past, you would do clinics with employees, you would do presentations with employees. They're going to be really difficult moving forward, but basically around the pensions in workplaces, around auto enrollment. But doing a Zoom clinic, 6:30 on an evening, it's great.
Yeah.
Do 4 or 5 people, much more intimate. People are probably more likely to ask questions, because if you're in a 20 or 30 audience, you like that, trying to put your hand up. You don't really want to ask what you feel might be a daft question when it's probably not.
You can type it in the comments bar or something, can't you?
If it's 4 or 5 of you and you can just type it in, or just say, oh, can I ask this? So yes, I think there are huge opportunities. It's how ready you are as a business owner to embrace those, or whether or not you want to try and just return to where it was before.
It's interesting because we still haven't got around to any top tips about finance, but I like this conversation in that if there's this return to work thing, isn't there, that's current at the moment, and I guess if people are watching this in the future, me or you will either be proved right or wrong with this. But if, for example, you are in a big office environment or a big factory, just keeping it really simple, but only say half of the people are going to go back in on the same day that you're going back in, you might think, none of my mates are going to be there, so there's no point in me going back in. So then the culture will, this shifts even further away then from the ability to be able to go back to work, to the want to go back to work, I go back to work just to have the personal contact. Now, we're talking about, you should pay for away days and stuff like that. You're on a climb or go-kart and stuff like that. That might be the office. Meet up on a Friday afternoon for a sandwich and a coffee, just to get
2
together
meters.
and just do something to actually, to actually go and see people. Or like you say, you might just decide, let's just meet up in the hills above Bolton and go for a walk around. The half dozen that are allowed to as a business thing. And I think I'm certainly sorting out some of my networking doing that kind of thing. Especially the guys who are active. It's like, well, I'll meet you, we'll go for a run.
Yeah. Or what I think a ride or a walk or whatever, and in a way you're getting better quality. I think what comes out of this is quality of life. I do think people are slowly going to start to look at things like you say, friends at work, ensuring that it's not just seeing them at work, but seeing them outside of work. A lot of employers are doing this kind of 3-3 thing, aren't they? That's the proposition, that they work in shifts. So that one shift does 3 days, another shift does another 3 days. And yes, if you're not on the shift with all your mates, you're going to lose contact with them. But it does present challenges for employers then in terms of keeping that morale. You know, I've worked in sales teams in the past where what kept us going was our togetherness as a unit. When I was at the Halifax years and years and years ago, we had a sales team that was just fantastic because we all got on. We all went to the pub afterwards and all the rest of it. Employers are going to have a big challenge to keep that moving, because it's not just some kind of abstract thing that somebody says, oh, my mates aren't there. Employers will realise that there's an issue with morale. And
unless people are in a reasonable place. And I think sometimes I think what some of us are forgetting, or I forget, is that some people are not in a good place with this, and how, as an employer, you can get them back into a good place when they've got, you know, there are maybe people who are already anxious about certain things, worrying about certain things, already had financial pressures or work pressures, now often isolated or feeling isolated. I think the difference, isn't it? You can feel on your own in a busy room, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the ones that are not able to feel engaged, how you re-engage those people in a team, in a workplace. Do you order them back in because they're not as productive as the person who can manage it all? We've got like a series of calls on this, and another one is, you know, how much of your investments are in commercial property and these pensions and stuff like that, when these big firms decide that they don't necessarily need all this space. Madness.
That's quite an interesting one. A lot of, shall we say, more modern investment funds have pulled away from commercial property because of the issues with retail and retail space. So if you look at the endless problems with companies like Debenhams, BHS, the move from shopping in city centres to shopping online, you know, that's been absolutely huge. And I do also think this move to shopping locally, which I think will only accelerate as we come out of lockdown.
It's mega this, because I don't look at the data, I don't study things, I just look at how I behave, right?
Yes.
I have accidentally started buying online from local companies. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So I get the look. So there's a garden centre near my mum and dad's. It's a little nursery thing, you know. So it's not like a big, you know, we've not got the coffee shops and all the outlets and all that kind of stuff. It's literally a plant shop. And the only way they could service the customers for the first few weeks was online. Now, I've now been there. I don't know what to order. I've been around. I know my way around the garden centre now enough to go and eat some of them, some of that, some of that. So I will now use that local business to deliver online, not necessarily a large national business that could be a bit cheaper to come to my house. So I know there is the concern about we're all going to Amazon. If you look at the figures on Amazon, it's obviously through the roof. But it's a hybrid, isn't it? I got some clothes delivered off Thread, which is a huge website that you put what you like and what you normally wear for different things in, and it literally emails you once a week saying you need to buy this, this, and this. Well, there are some independent clothes shops in Rochdale that I know now, if I popped in and said, right, I'm a medium this, my waist is this, that they could easily drop me a note and say, Rob, I've got some shoes for 50 quid. Would you like us to show you, to drop them off and you can see if you like them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the same process, but I'm able to develop a bit better relationship locally.
And it is that relationship. And I think, again, moving forward, a byproduct of COVID is how we value relationships with individuals. And it's daft. Going to the butchers, and we know the butcher now, or you talk to them. You've got there's a little shop in Rochdale called the Bolt Hole that does little amazing little gifts and daft little stuff, and it's got this little table full of books, and there's always something really interesting, and you've got a relationship with that person. I guess we're both really lucky that we've got towns like that. Where you've not got that, I don't know, it could be a bit different, but I agree, it is this hybrid. So if you want a pair of headphones, you'll go on Amazon. But if you want nice chicken breasts, you'll go to the butcher's. It's like with so many things, it's not one or the other. It's a balance.
Yeah,
isn't it?
My gym's moved to totally online Zoom things. I posted about it on Facebook the other day because the service I'm getting, I'm still paying a full CrossFit subscription. So in the grand scheme of things, it's more than a lot of gyms. But if they open up on the 4th of July or whatever that date is, and that disappears, it would be a massive shift for me to have to drive there every day to get what I'm getting at home, even though I haven't got all the equipment, all the stuff isn't at home. But so there's a conversation of, can I pick and choose and maybe just come less? You'll probably want me less anyway because you won't want it full of people because you won't be allowed. But maybe I could start, I've got some stuff being delivered today that I could do some more stuff at home and just come to you for the expert coaching in particular parts of what I do.
Yep.
Or when it's really cold.
Or when it's really cold.
Speaking of sport, come on. No, what we're doing now, cycling or financial tips?
I would like to merge the two, and there's a weird. So, where should we start with the journey? We met 6 years ago, around about the time that we were doing London to Paris.
I remember.
Yeah. So the year before, I was working with a firm down Cheadle way, and one of the lads came in and said, "Does anyone fancy cycling from London to Paris?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds fun. I better get a bike." But it's weird talking about this journey that you were talking about earlier on. And we were just looking at pictures of me at 40 the other day, and it's bizarre. Although I wasn't huge, I just looked not right. Really unhealthy, smoking, drinking too much, eating bad food, and felt in a really bad place. So it was quite weird. I'd been on this journey, and then this thing came up. I went, "Yeah, that sounds fun." So we did London to Paris, and I had some issues with knees and things. But the weirdest thing was I'd found my sport. I'd found the sport I should have been doing at 45. So I kind of right, I need to make up for lost time now. So done the Alps, done UCI Gran Fondo World Championship last year, which was pretty crazy. Getting to wear GB kit, which was a real treat. Being the 205th fastest 50 to 54-year-old in the world. Only 209 finished, but
you don't need to go into how many participated, do you?
That's what I mean. Only 209 finished because the crashes, broken collarbones, punctures. It was mayhem. So so last year, after just around the time I did the World Championships, I decided to work with a coach. A really great guy called Jody Warrington at Transition. And I've been thinking a lot lately about the parallels between, and this might sound really strange, a financial advisor and a sports coach. Both need a goal. And this is something I talk to clients about so much. It's about knowing where you want to get to. So be it retiring at 60, or paying for your kids' university fees, or not paying inheritance tax, or whatever. If you haven't got that goal, it's really, really difficult to make a plan. So when you're doing your CrossFit, you will have a goal of, I want to do this many whatever in this long.
Yeah.
And with cycling, it's about training specifically for an event. What's really strange is that then both roles use really sophisticated software. So I use cash flow modeling tools, fact finds, attitude to risk, and a coach will use things like Training Peaks. There's other stuff behind that, and it's really fascinating to see these parallels between the two roles and how much of it is built on trust. And I don't know if it's something you found. If you're working with a coach, if you don't trust that person, the relationship just doesn't work.
Yeah, there's very much the intricacies. We could all go online and find out about how to set up a pension, or how to do Olympic weightlifting or whatever. But I tell you what, the person that's managed to absorb all the information and then just give you the bit that you need at that point in time is what you're paying for.
Absolutely.
So
that is it. It's about the ability to take what you've got. So if you think about your muscles, your arms, your legs, you're not going to grow any more arms or any more legs. There's a limit really to how much muscle you're going to be able to own. And it's the same with money. You've got this much money and these things. All you're doing is you're taking these existing things and turning them into a goal by tweaking things. And it sounds confusing in a way, but as a financial advisor, it is, like you say, anyone can go on whatever website and open up a pension. Anyone can open up an ISA. But it's about not necessarily the product, it's about knowing where it is you want to get to then ensure that that thing is absolutely spot on. Because we are trained to buy stuff. Mobile phones are a perfect example of it. How many of us buy the latest mobile phone, knowing full well you'll never use everything that it ever does?
We had an analogy last night on our call. So obviously, what we do with the UW business involves mobiles and internet and that kind of stuff. And we said essential. It's essential. And the point being was, if you left for work and forgot your lunch or forgot to put the bin out, you won't go home. If you left work and you left your phone at home, you either spend all day with your heart rate through the roof panicking, or you turn back and go get it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is it's £1,000 piece of kit, these phones. So they're twice as expensive as the laptop that you put in a bag, fasten up and fasten to yourself, and then your phones are all over the place.
Wafting about.
Oh yeah, in the garden, kids are messing with them. So yeah, I know what you're saying.
So yeah, so in terms of an interesting journey, and I guess to kind of go back to what you're saying about the cycling thing. So I had an event booked for late August, early September in the Pyrenees. It's a 7-day cycling event which involved 25,000 meters of climbing over 7 days, about 500 kilometers climbing, Tourmalet, Aubisque, all these famous climbs that you see on the Tour de France, with Mavic support, motorbike escorts, and you have three jobs on these events: eat, sleep, cycle. That's it. It is the most amazing experience for any cyclist to do, to ride. It's like playing on Wembley or Old Trafford, because the pros have ridden these very same roads, on a bike, just not like yours, but very, very similar to yours. So anyway, that got cancelled, obviously, with COVID. And unfortunately, I've been training for it since October. So I decided, right, I've got all this form, I've got this fitness, I need to use it. And I got an email about everesting. So everesting basically involves cycling up and down the same hill enough times to have climbed the equivalent of Mount Everest. So that's a total ascent of 8,848 meters. So you'll know Blackstone Edge.
Yes, I've driven up it. It's fairly
You've
steep.
driven up it.
A few years ago, I did say I'm going to run up there one day, and obviously haven't done. How many times are you going to cycle up it?
So it's the actual climb I'm doing is from just before the Moorcock, you know, the
Right.
Moorcock pub.
Yeah.
So if you imagine the road, it's quite flat and then it just ramps all the way up to just past the White House.
Yeah.
What you get in there is the maximum elevation for your distance. Because the other issue is you've got to go up and then back down, and then go back up, and then come back down. So I think it's going to work out about 44 times.
Wow.
So the other day I did my first. I've been up Blackstone Edge so many times, but I did my first recce of repeating it, and did 7 in just under 2 hours. So I was quite happy with that, and the heart rate stayed pretty consistent, 135 BPM. So not, because what you don't want to do is push it. You go into the red, you can't sustain that for 12 hours.
Is that how long it's going to take? Ish?
I'm 12 to 13 hours, depending on breaks and wee stops, and change of hats because of the sweat, and obviously just feeding, because that's probably a third of the challenge is to fuel it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not constantly fueling, then you'll just run out of gas and it'd be horrible. We have a thing called bunking, where literally it's like the elastic band has snapped, and you just stop.
Is that like the wall in running in the marathon?
It's the same thing.
Right.
The issue is, if you're not eating constantly, it's really easy to not realize that you're hungry. There's only a certain amount of glycogen you can hold in your muscles. Once that goes, it goes. But it's about staying in that kind of fat burning zone almost, and just topping it up. So again, like I say, strategies from a fueling point of view, and the idea was to raise money for Springfield Hospice.
Spring Hill.
Sorry. Who's Springfield?
That's where the Simpsons live. Yeah.
Spring Hill and Berry Hospice. So we've got a friend who works in a hospice over on the Fylde coast. So we know the challenges that they're facing in COVID, and obviously don't get the same level of support from the NHS and all the rest of it. So I thought, try and raise a little bit of money, a little bit of profile for them, and obviously as a challenge, it's something I've been wanting to do for ages.
You engage with your training and get a result at the end of it.
Otherwise you feel like you've done all this training for nothing, because there's only a certain length of time you can keep this form. So yes, hopefully we can raise a bit of money and hopefully achieve the challenge. So anyway,
give us a finance tip.
Some financial advice stuff, non-regulated.
Are we allowed to give financial advice, or is this not financial advice?
That's what I was going to say. It's not
tips.
Tips. Really daft stuff, I guess, at the minute, is if you look at the number of employees that pay to a workplace pension now, there's about 10 million people pay to a workplace pension. The latest stats I got from Aegon reckon that about 80% of employees haven't told the pension scheme who to pay the pension to if they die.
Right.
How crazy is that? So how
Well,
does a pension scheme know who to pay the money to? It's not in your will because it didn't go through your will. So it's one piece of paper. In fact, most of the time you can do it online. So a lot of providers, they give you a little form online and fill it in.
So work out your provider, ask them for, what's the form called?
An expression of wish form.
Right. So 10 million people can benefit from that.
So
And then,
I've got a scheme in Bolton that I look at after, and none of them had filled it in. So I literally went one day with 16 forms. I went, right, who, how much, sign, go. And it sounds like a really tiny thing, but in this day and age of concerns about mortality and all the rest of it, and it's amazing how many people are paying to these schemes, but then have other schemes from previous jobs. So I would say one of the jobs you could do while you've got a bit of time on your hands is work out where your other pensions are.
to go through back every employee you've had and check if you had one.
And speak to your new provider at work about potentially consolidating. Then you've got it all in one place.
Cool. Just going to put a live warning on the site. I'm at home and there are children in the garden. So if listeners can hear that, it's lockdown live. So who do you speak to? So you think you've got some pensions from in the background? Do you speak to your financial advisor from your networking group? Do you speak to your employer who's done a deal for the new pension at work?
So this is one of the issues, is a lot of employers have attempted to run these schemes without having access to a financial advisor in the workplace. It's not affordable for all employers, obviously, and it's not always practical, but generally speaking, you as an employee will have access to a kind of microsite where many people now will get their statements because it's easier to get online statements. So there should be a section in there that deals with consolidation.
Right.
And
start there.
And start there. Obviously, if you have a financial advisor, they should have looked at this already. The issue is there's only 25,000 of us in the entire industry.
Across 65 million people of an X amount of working age, yeah. Okay.
And the issue that we've got as advisors, no violins required, we've only got so many hours in the day. So if you look at it, so this is again where the workplace, and it is an interesting, I think the workplace will become the center for financial advice in the future, because everyone pays to a pension at work and they can see it there, and it will make it a lot easier for everyone to deal with it. So little tips, weird ones, Santander 123.
Yeah, we discussed that earlier, didn't we?
Loads of people pay £5 a month for Santander 123 account. The interest rate on credit balances is now 0.6%. It used to be 3%, but you pay £5 a month for that. So what you can do is keep the cash back, but only pay £1 a month. So you do a 123 Lite. There's a really easy process to switch it across to that. So you apply and then transfer.
Right. So you stay with them, you just save yourself a few quid.
Even the account number stays the same.
Right.
But again, so this is, again, it's not regulated stuff, but it's a great opportunity to look at what you pay out.
Yeah.
Look at your direct debit list. Look at what goes out every month and ask yourself, do I use this? Am I paying twice for something? And a cool little thing I found, and again, it's not a regulated product, is a dashboard. Let me just find it again on my computer. There's a website called Money Dashboard.
Right.
You can put your accounts into it, and you can basically put predictions in. So you can say, right, I've got this much a month going out on this, and this much a month going out on this. And you can put your income in there, and it can show you your forward balance. So it's cash flow. We don't do cash
Treat your
flow.
home like a business.
Absolutely.
I'm saying that like I do it. It's something we should all be doing. Just sitting down once a month or something, is going through it.
It's really interesting. You say treat your home like a business, but if you look at how many people keep money in a cash ISA and then have a balance on a credit card, one's getting you 0.8%, the other one's charging you 25-30%.
But yeah, it's just the cost of money, isn't it? The cost of borrowing is far more than money in the bank at the moment.
But again, going back to being as a business, a lot of your clients, I'm making a giant assumption here, are business owners.
Yeah.
Who pay for their car through the business. What they've perhaps not looked at is what other stuff they can pay for through the business. And the really obvious ones, life cover.
Yeah.
How many clients have got life cover that they pay for from income that's paid tax, in corporation tax and dividend tax, when they could pay for their life cover from the business?
And then you're taxed after you've paid it out, aren't you?
No.
Because it's out. It was 100% tax.
No so you get corp tax relief.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And you're not paying dividend tax, and it's written in trust, so the life cover's tax free as well.
Right.
So basically, the savings are crazy, because it's a business expense, not from your money.
And that's one of the big things, though, isn't it, Joe? I want to wrap up quite in the next couple of minutes, but really is no matter how you're doing it, tax breaks or not, you need to insure your life, don't you?
It's a huge area that people are looking at again. We've not seen premiums go up yet, but I think insurers, certainly after mad cow disease, sounds a weird analogy, life premiums went up. So there could be something interesting there. But it's about looking at, and we have, I'll try and send you a link to it, or just we have a kind of calculator that tells you your probability of dying, having a critical illness, or being off work.
I would think it's quite high, having one of them. Depending
on your age, yes. In some instances, you're looking at 30% probability of having a critical illness.
Right, so you've got a 1 in 3 chance of needing to draw down that insurance cover, aren't you?
Because it's weird, the chances of dying are far, far, far less than being ill.
Yeah.
Because we have great healthcare, we have interventions, but the financial implications of being ill are just the same as dying, because you can't work anymore. And again, business owners can pay for that cover through their business, which is a great little opportunity, to be fair. But
It's
yes,
not that expensive, is it, overall?
again, it depends on what level of protection you need, etc., etc. And what I would always say is something is better than nothing. So you could say, ideally, I'd want this much, but it's going to cost me X. Well, my budget's this, it'll still give me Y protection. At least I've got some.
You know what? That's probably a really good point that no one has ever made. Is, let's say you've got a £200,000 mortgage, for want of a better word, and you want that sorting out should the worst happen. But you could take cover for 50 grand if that's all you could afford at that point in time, which would help better than none.
So here's another top tip.
Right.
And it's really boring. Never do joint life cover.
Okay. Right.
Because, mad as it sounds, sometimes it costs you less, if not around the same, to do two separate policies.
Right.
And then you both got cover. And it's little. And again, when we talk about the value of a financial advisor, the value of a financial advisor isn't telling you what fund to invest in or which provider to use. It's the little stuff like don't do joint, do it two separate names. It's the plan as opposed to the actual thing.
Cool. And we'll just wrap up with, I know you're really passionate about ethical investments and that kind of stuff. Is it you? Yeah,
I think it's something that will only get more and more popular. Absolutely. There's what's really been fascinating is that ethical funds have way outperformed other investments in this period. I think businesses are moving forward in that way again. So massive potential. So sorry, what was the question?
No, I think it's a nice way of moving what you do away from the crowd, because there are, I genuinely believe out of the back of wherever we end up out of this global pandemic, is the next winners, both economically, emotionally, socially, will be those that have the best interest of other people at heart. And whether you're the business that decides to work in a better way, or you're the advisor who decides to specialize in being ethically sound, or the car sales guy who decides to help with electric vehicles or whatever, but only by doing the right thing by people. I just have a feeling that that's where the goodwill of the population will come from. I don't think that will go back. I think the sharks and the companies that have been around for too long doing bad things, I think they're gone.
I do appreciate times. In financial services, those firms went long ago.
Yeah.
Because of the move to level 4 qualifications, to MiFID.
They all retired, didn't they?
They all got out. What's weird is a lot of those products that they sold are still around.
Yeah.
A lot of products that the banks sold are still around, because there's not enough of us to look after them. So anyway, been really good.
That's fantastic, John. That was nice, wasn't it?
It was lovely.
And if you have made it this far, listeners, thank you, because we were supposed to just do 10 minutes.
Oh well,
it's all good. Try, haven't you? We're all trying.
You've got to try.
What's for
What's for lunch?
What's for lunch? The kids will be on a sandwich for the 47th consecutive day. I'm gonna have. I made a bit of a corn mix-up vegetable thing yesterday, so I was going to pile that on a plate and eat that for lunch today. So
just scoff it. We're having cold potatoes,
right?
Because the starch changes as they're cold. with some beans and tuna, ready for a horror on the turbo in a couple of
An
hours.
hour on your turbo trainer.
Absolutely.
Well,
All right.
all right. Well, John, nice talking to you, mate. And did your coffee arrive?
Yes, sorry, I meant to say
Yeah.
we've not started using it because we still had some in the fridge. So I'm looking forward to trying it.
Right.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Okay. Fantastic.
Smashing.
All the best. Take care. See you soon.
Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Bye bye.